any props.
I know. I want to first say I want to thank the Hooksett Town Committee. I have not had a chance to stop by except for last night. You guys really ought to go. Well organized, well run, and pizza. So they really do a good job down there, and I do thank you. And they returned my binder that I left. Went back into the locked building to get it, so I do appreciate that. My name is Jason Gerhard. I represent Northfield and Franklin, Merrimack 25. I've been in the House for one term now, and I've become fully disillusioned enough to run for sheriff. And I'll get into that right now. So, the issue is that the House of Representatives is said to be the oversight body for the state. We're supposed to look into issues, figure out what's going on, and hold those that need to be held accountable. The problem is, we're not doing that. They give us plastic car keys and tell us that we're driving. And I've had enough of that. So, let me get into where I realized that this was basically all smoke and mirrors. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't run for state rep races. I'm simply saying that people that are in the state rep seats need to reassert their authority under the Constitution to do what they need to do, which is to hold some of these cheeseballs accountable, because we've let bought and paid for entities tell us that it's the prerogative to let certain things slide that really ought not be sliding. So, for instance, the investigation of the COVID vaccine manufacturers. We passed a resolution in this body in December of 2022. I appreciate everyone that was here to vote for that. It was to encourage, I forget the wording, it was watered down due to some people outside my... Anyway, to encourage the Attorney General to investigate the COVID vaccine manufacturers for fraud and wrongdoing. We all know that was a scam. All right, if you don't know yet, let's talk afterwards. We'll get you up to speed in about 1 minute. So, let me go through the timeline of what occurred. County resolution was passed, went to the state GOP convention in January of 2023. It passed there. I was very impressed that it passed there, but it just shows the wide support for such a measure. Do your job, Attorney General, who's appointed by the governor, mind you. Then I spoke with the governor at a caucus meeting when he tried to get his budget passed. Just to let you know, the state reps really have they don't hold any kind of court with the governor. I heard back in the day he'd give each one 3 minutes or something like that. You don't even get that now. But they had a line, you want to ask them a question, go ask them a question. I got a question. We have a resolution that was passed. I want you to investigate the COVID vaccine manufacturers. So he said, well, what do you want to do? Investigate Pfizer? I said, I want to investigate them all. There's something wrong going on. Let's look into it. Okay, well, send me something. I'll look into it. Send him something, nothing. So I pushed for a meeting with the Attorney General. Went there with another rep and John Bodwin, who was a researcher out of Massachusetts looking at all the death certificates and showing that there was fraud in what they were listing as the cause of death. This is pretty obvious at this point as well. People getting hit by cars or whatnot and then saying they were COVID deaths to get money. We went there, gave him the evidence. Okay, he's fake taking notes. Nothing ever happened. I then went up to the county attorney and said, listen, this is going on. What can we do? Now, mind you, the county attorney is popularly elected. And I do think he's a good guy. I have no issue with him. But at the same time, I think your duty is to protect the people of this county. And he told me basically that unless the Attorney General okayed it, he couldn't do anything. If that's true or not, I don't know. But if it is, then we got major problems. So at that point, just let you know, this is not some kind of outside of New Hampshire thing. There are 11 people who died. This is from John Bowden, research he's done out of Massachusetts. There are 11 people who died on the same day of immunization in New Hampshire. Right? We have 87 people who died within 3 days of getting this toxic shot. And it just gets worse. So anyway, the point being is, so then I went through the House steps, nothing. You need you need the Speaker of the House to give subpoena power to anyone to investigate things. And the committees that are created within the House are not really actually able to do anything. Leah Cushman started one to look into DCYF. Second meeting, she had a witness, and another rep asked for the witness to be put under oath, which you're allowed to do as a state rep. Anybody sitting on the committee can say, I would like this witness to be put under oath. Because think about it. Why am I going to waste my time going to a committee hearing to hear somebody talk about unicorns and the aliens that just hooked up? That's absurd. If you're getting up there, you should be under oath, and there should be some penalty, maybe a $100 fine or pick up trash. I mean, go around Concord. They could use that, right? So anyway, that was shut down by the Speaker because she went outside the bounds or some Dem complained or whatever it was, but it's actually in the RSAs that you're allowed to put people under oath. So that just shows me that the committees, the special committee, it's all fake. We currently have a special committee right now looking at the state's response to the COVID pandemic, which Yuri is actually heading up, well, he got that created, and I do thank him for that, but at the same time, that's not looking at the manufacturers, that's looking at the state's response. Now, the state's response is, is guided by the fact that 43, 47, whatever % of our budget comes from the federal government, with the requisite strings attached, which is a whole nother problem. So, I think it's important, we're going to do a little trip back in time, because Article 83 of the state constitution allows the state legislature to initiate criminal and civil proceedings against errant corporations. Article 83 is encouragement of literature and control of corporations. Really good article, you should read that, it's very important, because this is from a 1905 Supreme Court case. Just understand that corporations aren't what we've been told that they are. A corporation is a creature of the state. It is presumed to be incorporated for the benefit of the public. It receives certain special privileges and franchises and holds them subject to the laws of the state and the limitations of its charter. Its powers are limited by law. It can make no contract not authorized by its charter. Its rights to act as a corporation are only preserved to it so long as it obeys the laws of its creation. There is a reserved right in the legislature to investigate its contracts and find out whether it has exceeded its powers. Back in the day, corporations were put to death. It was just a normal thing. You're created with certain privileges, limited liability, perpetual existence, and trademark. So there are certain things you get from us, the people, and there's certain things you have to follow by, your charter. So, very quickly, states limited corporate charters to a set number of years. Maryland legislators restricted manufacturing charters to 40 years, mining to 50, and most others to 30. And in certain states, they actually private banking corporations were banned altogether by the Indiana Constitution in 1816 and by the Illinois Constitution in 1818. We kind of have this thing now where corporations run roughshod over us. And, well, Pfizer I don't care about Pfizer. They paid the largest fine in history, $2 billion, I think it was, about 5-6 years ago, for fraudulent marketing. So how does that bring the sheriff into this? The sheriff is the highest law enforcement authority within this county. He has the duty to investigate these outlaw entities and to bring charges forth to the county attorney and to push for prosecution. Because I think right now we kind of look at the sheriff as like the chief of police of the county, which he's not. He's there to enforce the highest law of the county, the state and country, which is the Constitution, not these statutes that are just kind of nonsense things. The Constitution takes precedence over all of that. And that's what I want to do through task forces. So we currently have a task force in Merrimack County and the Sheriff's Department to investigate online crimes against children. But I want to broaden that. I want a task force to look into the tax on federal income, so-called the federal income tax, which, this is from, I brought Kang Liu with me today. He's a doctor living in New Hampshire. And he wrote a whole pamphlet on the true nature of the tax on federal income. First paragraph, the federal income tax is the tax on federal income. It is not the federal tax on income. A person becomes subject to any internal revenue tax when the record shows that he has received or derived the gain from the exercise of a government entitlement or from the use of government property. Thus, the tax is an indirect tax or excise tax or a cut of the gains or profits derived from the privileges of government. As such, it may be lawfully avoided by avoiding those privileges on which the tax is laid. It is not when you go and you work a job and then you pay, they give you money for your labor. That's an equal exchange. It has nothing to do with the federal government. Because I'm tired of my money going overseas to all these nonsense wars that are not designed to end because Boeing and the rest of the major corporations have bought up our Congress. If you don't realize that by now, I think you need to kind of look at what's going on. Our actions are not derived from our national security. And this is the 2006 copy of the IRS code. What time am I at right now?
10 minutes.
I thought you said 12 and a half.
You have 2 left.
Oh, I'm at 10 minutes right now. Okay, well, I want to introduce Josie and Kang up here very quickly. And they've helped me work on 2 specific task forces I want to deal with. Tax on federal income, and Josie is leading the geoengineering task force. And I'll give them a minute each, because I think it's important to let those who know what they're talking about talk about it instead of just being that guy. So, very briefly, guys, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was so late.
This book, 3.8 million words. It's controlled by 4 words: property, income, source, and service. Property means government property. It means property belonging to the United States. Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2 of the Constitution. It does not mean Fifth Amendment property as in private property, which cannot be taken without just compensation or due process of law. income, it says right here, has been taken to mean the same thing as the corporate excise tax of 1909 in the 16th Amendment. This is Bowers versus Carabao Empire Inc. 271 U.S. Oh,
It's fine, it's fine.
right. Got it?
No, I just want to say
Oh,
the
okay,
case
yeah.
law, nobody's going to remember that.
Right.
But
Anyway, the income tax means the tax on the federal income or the federal benefits you received. It is not a tax on personal property, private property, or the labor or the fruits of your labor.
and the most important thing is we need to keep our money here to benefit
Right.
our community, not Ukraine. And
Right.
Josie, briefly, I'm sorry.
No problem. I'm here because I testified on one of Jason's bills this year, HB 1700. Its goal is to regulate geoengineering in the state. Long story short, in 2023, the Biden administration published a report announcing it was going to continue its already limited research into scientific experiments in the atmosphere involving spraying aerosols to block sunlight and cool the earth and save us from climate change. The problem with that is that, let's see, the main components of these experiments require sulfur dioxide and other very toxic agents that are already calling for aggressive reductions in New Hampshire under RSA 125. And it are listed right on DES's websites as for all the harms that they do: particulate matter, CO2 in the form of solid dry ice. So we're saying, where are the Democrats? Where are the environmentalists on this? They're nowhere to be found. When we put this bill forward, we found out that Department of Environmental Services is a federal operation. It is really not funded by our tax dollars, and therefore they will not tell the federal government that we do not consent to this medical and scientific experiment.
And I just want to say, Joe, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we actually passed at the April meeting, the state meeting for the GOP, a amendment to the platform to ban geoengineering. So this is a supported topic among the public and among the party. And I just think it's time we protect those who need to be protected, which is all of us, and we don't need to be breathing in aluminum and barium and strontium and all this other nonsense for some supposed benefits from global warming, which is a whole nother topic, and I'm out of time, unfortunately.
And exactly, and basically federal law claims that the FAA and the federal government own our airspace. And so if, as limited government people, like, you should question whether the federal government owns your breathable air. That's all I'm saying.
For the sake of time, you're going to be around for a while?
Yeah.
Guys? So they're going to be around, and feel free to speak to them, and I'm sure they...
Wait, no questions?
Yeah. Well, they could get this book. Just
One question.
One question, okay, just one question. What are three serious issues facing the county sheriff, and how would you address them?
Facing the county sheriff as a
County
department?
sheriff,
As
our
a
Merrimack
department,
County
or as
sheriff.
the people of Merrimack County?
No, not the state, the world, the globe, you know. What are the three main issues facing the county sheriff's office in Merrimack County, and how would you address them?
Well, I sat on the executive committee of our county delegation to oversee the sheriff's department and the county attorney. And when he came into the meetings, he was happy with basically everything. He said he has full employment, there are no open spots. And as far as I understand, there was really no major concerns within his department, let's say. I know the county jail is suffering, I think they have 60 open spots, something to that effect. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not claiming to be some expert on the sheriff's department.
You're running for sheriff, aren't you?
Understood. Listen to what I'm going to say. Listen to what I'm going to say. I think any government job should not be so complicated that you need to be kind of brought up in the system and have this kind of, I'm concerned about law enforcement being this. Yes, sir, but I don't want it to be that. I don't want to be, where is your authority? My signs, core and toe, by what authority? By what authority are we enforcing these laws and dictates on people? I think that's the most important thing, and it's a common law right, we can get into it, but that is what I'm concerned about. I hope that answered your question. All right, thank you guys, I appreciate your time.